Hello, Doreen. How are you?
I'm good. Well, we're dealing tonight with Hurricane Milton's headed towards Florida as we are recording this. So let's pray for everyone. I feel so bad for all the people on the west coast of Florida that have been dealing with the aftermath of, what was it, Helene?
Yes, Helene.
And now this, and
I know, it's
I was going to say, living here in South Florida, but look what happened up in the Carolinas, right? Nobody would have ever expected in a million years, right?
Yeah, one of our favorite towns, Asheville.
Yeah, Asheville and surrounding areas in North Carolina. So let's send our prayers to everyone who's dealing with all of these issues from these hurricanes.
Yes, and then Samantha's back in town.
Yeah, so our youngest daughter Samantha just got back yesterday, yay, from her travels around Europe. She was in, let's see, where was she? She was in France, Switzerland, Belgium,
Amsterdam,
Amsterdam, and yeah. So I'm so excited. I'll be having dinner with her tomorrow night.
Yay.
And hearing all the things, and so proud of the kids, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about being stuck.
Yeah, like I said in the introduction, you know, you could be stuck in your marriage, you could be stuck in your divorce, and of course, life after divorce, you can be stuck, but are you really stuck, or is it something that's in your mind?
Well, as we teach, thoughts are voluntary.
And a choice.
You know, it's interesting because, like you always tell us, you have about 60,000 thoughts a day, and most of us are not aware that we're having thoughts. So what we want to talk about today is about if you feel like you're stuck, for example, making a decision, do I stay in a marriage, do I get out, stuck primarily after divorce, like trying to move on, trying to figure out where to go and all that. It's really, I think you're going to suggest to us, right, Jeff, it's about dealing and understanding your emotions, where they're coming from, which emotion or feelings come from thoughts,
right?
And how to help you move past being stuck to clarity. You know how you make a decision, even if it's really not the decision you want to make, but somehow, even though you don't like the decision that you're making, like maybe leaving a marriage, quitting a job, saying goodbye to someone maybe that you don't want to be friends with, something like this. It's uncomfortable and it's unpleasant, but you almost feel a sense of relief after you finally make that decision.
Well, and you know, if we can jump to the primitive brain real quick, the reason that we have such a difficult time making those decisions is our primitive brain that teaches us to stay comfortable in our comfy zone and stay away from change, stay away from difficult things, and look for the easy way out and search for pleasure.
Avoid pain.
Seek pleasure.
That's what our primitive brain does.
Yeah, so we're taught this.
Well, I think it's not even that we're taught this. I think this is just who we are. We're built this way. We're built to avoid pain and suffering. Like, let's get out of it as quickly as we can is what our primitive brain says. Ooh, this doesn't feel good. So when you're stuck, you're not really getting out of pain. You're kind of like stuck in pain. You've just learned to kind of deal with it.
Right.
And that's not good either, right?
Exactly.
So let's talk.
Okay, all right.
So what do you want to talk about?
Well, first I think
and by the way, P.S., I'll say that this time you look very handsome today.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
And for those of you who do not know, we are doing this also on YouTube, on video.
Yes.
So you can come see us.
From the comfort of our own home.
Yes, we are here in our own home. So let's talk.
Well, I think that the one thing about staying stuck is you're not teaching yourself resilience and perseverance and the ability to do something difficult in life. And I think you're neglecting everybody else around you from the greatness that you can become.
Yeah, I love saying that.
Yeah.
Not only are you not giving yourself the beauty of all the things that you can discover and become, but you're really taking it away from the world, because every one of us has something amazing to contribute, to give, and even if it's on a small level or a big level. And so think about that. I also think that when you're stuck, not making decisions, not moving forward. I like to say, we also talk about you can run away from things, and that's being stuck as well,
Right.
avoidance. But you can also stay stuck just standing still,
Right.
right? But one of the other things is avoidance behaviors. And what I mean by that is that because our primitive brain, because we as humans try to seek pleasure, we want to avoid pain. A lot of times we'll seek artificial dopamine hits to do that. Such things as eating sugar, drinking alcohol, gambling, pornography. All these things create very quick artificial dopamine hits that feel good and get you out of feeling yucky,
Right.
but
Temporarily.
are avoidance behaviors that can lead to other problems. So now
Right.
you're dealing with being stuck, but you're also dealing with these avoidance behaviors, right?
Yeah.
We
So
call it
compound.
buffering.
Yeah. Well, explain. Buffering again is when you do something to excess, to avoid the pain, to avoid the emotion that you're having.
Yeah, kind of
And-
numb out.
And
Numb
kind of,
out.
Yeah. What you were talking about is the problems compound themselves.
Yeah,
So when you're done buffering, if you ever hopefully do seek help to get out of the buffering that you're going through, you have the buffering to deal with, and now you have the underlying problem that was always there also.
yeah. Yeah, and these buffering behaviors like, having that glass or 2 or 3 of wine every night, becomes a habit. It's kind of the way of coping with the issues that you don't want to cope with, but that's just one of many behaviors. Hi, Zen.
I think he's
My
ready to
little,
jump
my
on
little
you.
Frenchie is sitting here wanting to come up and say hello, but we're gonna let you stay down there. My nice, cute little boy. I know. Okay.
Yeah, he's gonna hit the mic, so come here, Zen. Don't jump.
Yeah.
Come over
So
here.
let's talk about coping skills.
Coping
So
skills.
learning new coping skills can help you face problems as they come up. So those are things like breathing exercises, meditations, thought work. I'll say that again, thought work,
That work.
knowing what you're thinking that's causing this issue for you. Another coping mechanism or skill that we like to talk about is try to face problems with an open mind, taking responsibility and avoiding self-pity. So what we mean by that is like when you're stuck in a circumstance or a situation, first of all, you're not stuck. You know that, right? Like everyone has the ability to get unstuck. You can do things, you can make decisions. We're all, unless you're, somehow restricted or restrained, which most of you are not, you have the ability to get unstuck. You just choose not to. So I think, being open-minded to look at the situation, to be neutral about it, to determine like from a neutral place, what am I dealing with? Not to be in this self-pity kind of, woe is me, I'm stuck. Like really just, are you really stuck? Like look at it from that perspective, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that one thing that we talk about is understanding that your awareness that you're stuck, and then the fact that you're taking some kind of action as well, not just taking responsibility for being stuck, but taking responsibility for getting unstuck.
Well, and that might be really determining the pros and cons. What is the decision I need to make? Why am I stuck? And what does it look like? But one of the things also is trying to go to the next one, which is try to focus on present moments and avoiding focus on past and future. And what that means is getting drawn into that thoughts about, well, what if things were different? What if I didn't get divorced? What if he did this? What if she was like that? All that stuff. And then also maybe looking at, but if in the future I could do this, or I could have this, as opposed to just me dealing with the present moment, the present situation. What is really going on? What is the fact and not a thought behind what you're seeing as being stuck in? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, what
Absolutely.
else?
Well,
Coping skills.
Well, one thing that we've always put these two together is that when you're working out and you're eating properly, you'll tend to think properly. Perhaps you want to try yoga or something more for your mind, mindfulness. that's going to get you on the right path of thinking.
Well, I think what you're saying is, I'm going to recap it.
Okay,
Healthy in mind, body, and spirit.
exactly.
When you have a healthy mind, body, spirit, you're able to cope better. So these are coping skills. You wanted to, I know, talk about the stages of divorce. So let's turn to that.
Absolutely. Well, I was thinking earlier that,
And what we mean by that is emotional stages
Yeah.
that have been well known for many years by people a lot smarter than us who have figured that out.
exactly, and it's not
Right.
that hard to be.
That's not nice.
I think that when you're
Well, let's
thinking,
talk about them
well,
first.
well, first I think that let's talk about it first. The stages of divorce, stages of grief, they're pretty much the same.
And they are
Well,
shock,
first-
denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance.
Thank you for letting me
You're
know.
welcome.
Okay.
I couldn't wait anymore.
Well,
I
what
had
I
to
was
say
getting
it.
out was, I think that when you're stuck, it's because you don't realize that your emotions that you're going through are very normal. So you're thinking, well, this isn't normal, and I'm kind of, stuck in this feeling, and knowing that it is normal what you're going through, then it helps you to work through it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I also want to suggest that while, when you're feeling an emotion, like let's just pick, I don't know, what do you want to pick? Depression?
Depression.
Or anger?
Yes.
When you're feeling that, like recognize that you are feeling that emotion, identify it. I like to have my clients name it, identify it, like anger. I feel angry about the divorce. I feel angry about the breakdown of my marriage.
Mhm.
I also feel that I'm stuck from this anger. Know that when you buffer, you avoid that, right? Because I think when you're stuck, you're just avoiding. It's an avoidance mechanism. That's a choice, like we said, but also getting through that emotion, like working past that anger
Mhm.
is going to get you to the other side of it. We're so afraid generally in our primitive side of us, our primitive brain definitely wants to help us by getting away from the
Yucky feeling.
yucky feelings, right? And so we have the ability through our prefrontal cortex, our thinking brain, to say, you know what? I know I'm feeling anger about the breakdown of my marriage, but I can deal with this anger. I can work through this emotion. I'm going to breathe into it. I'm going to get to the other side. It's not going to hurt me. It's not going to kill me. You got to work through it. You got to work through it. And then when you can get past that, past the anger, past that emotion, then you can start to identify the thoughts that you need to have in order to start to unstuck you, unstick you.
Unstick you.
What's
And I
the
know
right-
you say that a lot, tell your clients a lot, that you can't go under the anger, you can't go around the anger or over the anger, you got to go right through it. I know you're pretty big on having to deal with it is the only way you're going to be able to get past it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about thoughts.
Well, I think that when you're saying recognizing your emotion that you're going through, understanding that it only comes from your thoughts.
Right.
Your thoughts create those feelings.
And how do we know that? We know that because two people could have the same circumstance, right?
Yes.
And a circumstance, for all of you listeners out there who do not know, you should go back probably and listen to one of our episodes about the model, MODEL. It's basically the fundamental principle of most of our coaching. It's the foundation, which is that a circumstance, which is a fact, creates a thought, that creates a feeling, that creates an action or inaction, that's the stuck part, that creates the results you have in your life. So for example, if your result is that you can't make a decision, you can work backwards.
Right.
The thought is, the result is you can't make a decision, meaning you're just stagnant, you're stuck, right? You're stuck figuring out what to do. That's the result. Now,
Well, the result is you haven't made a decision. Not making a decision is the action.
well, I was gonna work backwards.
Okay.
So now if we go back to the action or inaction line, I'm working up the model, right?
Right.
There was probably an inaction that left you in the result of being stuck, right? that came from a feeling. Maybe it was confusion. That's a big one, why people get stuck. They're
Overwhelmed,
confused.
yeah.
Overwhelmed and confusion. Overwhelm and confusion, I think, are the number one emotions people feel when they're stuck.
Right.
Now, you go to that and you say, yeah, I feel overwhelmed. And so I understand I didn't take action. Maybe you even buffered instead. And now I have a result of being in the same place. Now go past that. What was your thought that created the feeling of overwhelm, for example, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the model is something that is undeniable when it comes to when you break it down and work it backwards or work it, from the middle out or the middle down. As long as you are aware and recognize a piece of the model, then you can work it out to get the results that you want.
And I know this is for those of you who don't know the model yet or haven't had an opportunity to listen to that podcast episode. This is where the coaching beauty comes in, and where most of our clients really, I want to say, thrive.
Have that aha moment.
I was going to say, have that aha moment. They're like, oh, I get it. So the results I have in my life are based on my thoughts. And there is nothing that anyone is going to tell me, and I beg the listeners to try me on this, that if you have a result in your life that you don't like, or you like, that it isn't a creation from your thoughts. It always stems from your thoughts. So for example, I don't know, pick a thought that would keep someone stuck in a marriage that they know is over.
I'll never meet anybody like them again.
Or I'll never meet anybody afterwards.
Right.
Who wants somebody that's been married, right? And so that thought leads to probably sadness, that then leads to likely inaction.
Lack of confidence.
And then leads to you being stuck,
Right.
right?
I think
That
one of
was
the
a good
biggest
example.
issues out there is that most people, and I'll go on the limb as well, like you did, believe that their thoughts are circumstances. They believe that their thoughts are facts and that
Right.
they can't do anything about them.
And I'll hear things from clients who say, oh no, well, you don't know my husband, or you've never met my wife, right? Or my ex. And the bottom line is, here's how you know that a circumstance is not a fact, but it's a thought. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Because two people can have different thoughts.
About the same thing.
Yeah, about the same
Exactly.
thing. The circumstance is a fact.
Yeah, so your wife could come in and say something to you that really just drives you crazy, and your thought might be like, oh my gosh, like I gotta get out of this marriage, like this is just an ongoing thing. But she could say the same thing to someone else and they'd be like, oh, that's fine.
Yeah, and
That's
some people
no
may
big
be
deal.
sad about the divorce and the other person's happier
about
than
the
happy about
divorce.
the divorce, sure.
Yeah.
So it's all about the same thing.
Or somebody will, so the beauty in coaching is that we take that thought of, I'll never find anybody that left you stuck, the example you just gave,
Right.
and we'll just gently start to change that thought to something new. Something new, like, I don't know.
Well, something soft would be more like, well, what happens if you did?
Right.
Or what would you do if you did meet somebody?
Or do you know, or I know people that thought they would never find somebody who have, oh, there's, I could do this too.
Or what I do a lot in my coaching is use myself as an example. I never thought I was going to meet somebody incredibly beautiful that I would fall in love with when I was going through a divorce. I didn't even want to have anything to do with women.
I don't believe that on any level.
Well,
I wouldn't say anything.
I took one look at you and I said, love does a live, love is alive, baby. So, but, I use myself as an example because we're both, second marriages, and, the dating scene out there I know is a little strange right now. Most people have told me that's their
Right.
thought, but I know that it's possible. We've seen a lot of clients and a lot of our friends that have gone through it that are happier than they've ever been.
Yeah. I can tell you just based on my own experience, handling divorces for 30 years now, that rarely do I see someone after the divorce is over.
Mhm.
I'm talking like, let's just take a number, 6 months after,
Uh-huh.
who doesn't feel and think that they're in a better place.
Right. Yeah,
I
they're
know
not
it's-
saying I still miss them.
And it doesn't mean that the marriage was a failure,
Oh.
right? I know there's also a lot of people that get stuck staying in relationships, in marriages that are bad because of religious beliefs or social stigma that they're concerned about, or maybe for their children's sake. Those are all things that you should address. So one of the things to help you to get unstuck is to really sit down, figure out what your thoughts are, and then start to really, analyze it.
Right.
Is this a truthful thought? Is this real? Could I have a different thought?
Exactly.
Right?
That's
Could I
a
have a
great
different
question to
thought?
ask yourself is, could somebody see this in a different way?
Right.
Or could somebody think of it in a different way? And I think one thing that's a great way to start having clarifying moments is to take little baby steps, little action steps.
Yeah, we're not telling you that you need to jump from being totally unstuck on a decision or how to move forward to now you're gonna have complete clarity. I mean, that's just not really possible. I don't think it's possible. It's little steps towards clarity.
Yeah.
It's little steps to changing your thoughts. Look, another thing I like to suggest is why don't you go visit with a lawyer? Find out if you're stuck in a marriage and you're considering divorce, what does it look like? What's a 101 on divorce? What am I gonna get? What can I expect? What are the different processes? Because you might be relieved. If you're feeling stuck because you're afraid of the divorce process, there are so many options out there, and a lot of them are a kinder, gentler process than what you may have seen, social media
Heard of,
world or
imagine.
heard of.
In the
or
movies.
In the movies, like, what is it, the War of the Roses.
War of the Roses.
And all that, we're dating ourselves.
Well,
but-
I always say knowledge is power. So the more knowledge you have, the more confident, the more powerful you're gonna be.
Right.
But I know that, what do you say to people when they're going to meet with you about a divorce? How are they gonna feel afterwards?
I'm always like at the consultation, I know one thing, I think that I can pretty much guarantee that when we finish this consultation, you are gonna feel a lot better.
Yes.
It's a less scary place than you perceive it to be.
They
And I think
typically
that's
do.
true with most things. I think our imagination kind of always takes us to this place of, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so horrible, like making a decision and moving forward in whatever direction, right? We tend to think of the worst case scenarios, and that is false evidence appearing real,
Right.
which
Fear.
stands for, or is fear, right? False evidence appearing real. It's not real. Every situation is different. Every divorce is different. And every person after divorce comes to their situation differently. That's why it's so important when we coach to know where that person is emotionally. What stage of that divorce are they in? Because you know what? Sometimes you're not ready to move on and make big decisions until you first deal with your emotions.
Right.
There is a grieving process. There are stages of divorce. You need to know what stage you're in, and that's the first part of the Thrive After Divorce program, is figuring out what stage you're in.
Well, and that's why we made it the first part, because you have to know where you're at so you can have the map to go where you want to go.
That's true. You can't go there if you don't know where you're starting from.
Exactly.
So what else?
Well, I think that there's a couple of questions that may come to your mind that when you're going through this stuck feeling. You might ask yourself, who am I? Where have I been? Where am I going? How can I get reconnected? That's a good one. In other words,
To
they feel so
yourself?
distant. Well, some people, when they're stuck, they feel so distant from their family, their friends,
Yeah.
just everybody.
Yeah.
Their children. So they want to reconnect. Which parts of me have I lost touch with?
Right.
And that's why we say a lot of this is about rediscovery and trying to build this new chapter for yourself, because you seem to maybe have lost touch with yourself.
Right.
Why am I so stuck in the past? And why is it so difficult to get out of the past?
Yeah, I know it's tough. This is not easy stuff, but it is doable. The worst part of it is staying stuck, and then days go by, months go by, years go by,
Yeah, that's stuck.
and then you're really stuck, and you're like, you're just unhappy, you're not moving forward in life. Life is not a dress rehearsal. You realize that when things happen, like recently we just lost your mom. And so, when you have a loss like that, it tends to kind of build some awareness that this life is limited here on earth, right?
Yeah.
And so why be stuck?
We do live our life like it's never ending. And I believe knowing that it isn't a dress rehearsal, it's definitely a life of 50-50, and it's a life that we have to make the most of because it is typically short when we get to the bottom part of it. I think that thought of we gotta get going, life is short, is a good way to get unstuck as well.
The other thing, yeah, I do too. I think the other thing is you are a chooser of your choices. Yeah. Meaning, this is where the self-pity is, and if you're stuck, then you're choosing to be in stuckness, right? You make a choice. I'm gonna stay here. And you know what? If you wanna stay in a marriage that isn't good for you, that's a choice. And you should not be questioned about that. If that's a choice you make, be there. But be there because you made a choice, not because you feel stuck. Own it and say, I'm gonna stay in this marriage. It may not be the best marriage, it may not be the best circumstance. I may not even love my spouse anymore, but I'm deciding to stay and know your reasons why. And then that's unstuck, that right. You're unstuck, right?
And I believe that's the only way the model is going to work for everybody out there, including myself, including you. You have to understand your thoughts are the only thing in the model that you can control. Everything comes from the thoughts. You can't change the circumstance, but you can control your thoughts.
Right.
And that's the beauty of life, is you are the chooser of your choice.
I also think it's important for you, and this really zeroes in also after divorce, is that believe in what you want. Have faith in yourself and your ability to get where you want to go after divorce rather than voting against yourself and staying stuck in the past. Just have confidence that you can do this. You can. Right?
And well, I think that's why it's so important to start off slow, start off with baby steps to build that confidence and build the belief in yourself. But if you start off that way, you're going to remain stuck. So you have to take that leap of faith and say, well, maybe not even a leap, maybe the baby step of faith, and say, I can do this. I know what I want, and I deserve what I want.
So to get unstuck, it's probably going to involve making a choice you don't want to make. I talked about that. And you're afraid that if you make that choice, you might be making the wrong choice.
Back to the primitive brain.
Just got to go for it. You just got to go for it. You got to recognize that you're stuck, you're unhappy, whatever the circumstances are in your life, and that you want out, right? You want out of being stuck.
Right. And like I said earlier, when it comes to understanding the stages of emotions, they're normal. Being afraid to make those decisions is also normal by the way we were created. Remember, with the primitive brain, it doesn't want us to make hard decisions. It wants us to stay comfortable and take it easy. So know that making these decisions is tough is normal as well.
It is. And then what do you want for your future? Right?
Yeah.
How many of you don't think about that? We think about it when we're young. We think about it when we go to school, what we want to study. We think about it as we start our careers, as we look for a mate, a spouse. We think of it as we have children, it's like all these plans for the future. We think about it as we gravitate through our career and go to various levels and improve and become more of an expert in whatever we're doing. And then there comes a point for a lot of people where they do get stuck. They get stuck not creating goals. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, I've done that. I've got all the things, I went to school, I have a successful career, I've got kids, I got married, I did all the things. It doesn't stop just because you've accomplished certain things. There isn't like a checklist that says, well, now you've completed all the checklists and so let's just stop. No, if you're stuck not moving forward to create goals and to be into a bigger, better life for yourself, then you're stuck. Even though on paper you may look great, you have all the things, right? But life and what really excites most people is growth, is growing, is thinking about all the things that you want to do and see and be with, and keep striving, keep going out there, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the things I think, when people ask me, well, they don't really ask me yet, but sometimes they'll say, what do you see yourself doing? I don't see myself ever retiring from business. I love what I do.
It's
so
fun.
I like to say that until my mind and my body give out, I'm still doing what I want to do, which is creating law firms, bringing my split up concept to the world, which is a kinder way, gentler way to get divorced that I want to bring throughout the entire United States. I mean, I have big goals. I want to bring it here to Florida. I've already opened my law firm. I'm going to be probably merging it into my current firm at Yaffa Family Law Group. We're going to be doing a rebranding. Like, I am excited about the future.
Well, I want to be you.
I'm just getting started. Like, yeah, man, let's do all the things.
Yeah. And I wrote down a couple of questions. How do I find myself again? So at one time they were themselves, and then through marriage and maybe divorce and living a different
Being
life.
a mom, being a dad, we lose our identity.
Yeah, lose your identity. And how about living your life again on your own?
Right.
Some people have a hard time being by themselves or being with themselves.
Yeah, you do.
I do.
You're very needy.
I'm a needy guy.
I said I was going out to dinner with Samantha tomorrow night, and you're like, oh. That was your reaction. Do you remember that?
Yes, of course I do.
This just happened like 5 minutes before we started the podcast.
Because I miss her too. I want to have dinner with her also.
You can have dinner with her, but she'll come say hi. I want a little mommy-daughter time.
Okay, all right, I'm a little dad time to himself.
You can more. You pick up the phone. I'm sure she's available. She'd love to see you.
Hey, it all boils down to what do we want, right?
Yeah. What do we want? All right. So.
Well, I would like to hear everybody's story. I want to hear your
How they're
story.
stuck?
No, I want to hear your story
story?
of what you want. I want to hear your story of what you want.
Yeah.
Feel free to send it to me at jeff@lad-coaching.com. And I want to hear what it is that you want. And I promise you that I will give you a complimentary coaching session.
How does anybody not take you up on that?
Well, maybe
It's
they
free.
do. Maybe they do.
It's free. Like, he does these free coaching sessions just to explain to you, no strings attached, what it's about.
But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give everybody that sets up a call with me the top 5 things they can do to get whatever it is they want. How's that?
Oh, so that's what you're going to talk about?
Yes, 5 things. Whatever you want, you're going to be able to get it.
But you can
I
only
promise.
pick one thing that you want. Because if not,
Well, no,
it'll be too
not
much.
5 wants. 5
No.
ways to get what you want.
The one thing you want.
Yes. I mean, they can tell me a bunch of things that they want, but we will pick
Oh
one.
my God, I'm going to
And
do
we'll
a
go
coaching
for it.
session with you.
All right,
Can I
sounds
call
good.
in?
Yeah, of course.
I'll call in and
Call
I'll tell
me
you what I
anytime.
want, what I really, really want.
Hey, until next week, we'll see you soon.
All right, everybody, have a great week. Be
Bye-bye.
safe. Bye.
Don't forget to follow us on social media for more empowering content, tips, and inspiration to help you thrive after divorce. And if you're ready to take the next step in your journey, don't miss out on our free 30-minute coaching session. It's a great opportunity to get personalized guidance and support for wherever you are in your divorce journey. Just visit the link in our description to book your appointment.